Okay, so I'm going to have a challenge. It's about 15 minutes. I'm going to try and not have the buzzer click and ring, and we'll try and complete it before that, right? But the intent, I don't want to make this a Dell or a Dell EMC pitch and spend time talking to you about the technologies and stuff like that. Let's try and keep that to as, can you hear me at the back? Is it loud? Is it okay? Okay, good. So I'm not going to try and do that a lot. I'll do that towards the very end to bring this all together. But let's dive right into how digital transformation can be made real, powered by data. Okay, and I'm going to sort of spend time if this works. So let's quickly take a look at how the world has changed around us. I think most of us subscribe to this. It's probably not very new. In terms of the GDP or the contribution GDP per capita, there has been an explosion, right? There's been an explosion since around the 2000s, and largely driven by the fact that there are businesses today, which every business is a technology business driven by data and digitization. 60% of the global GDP expected to be driven by digital businesses by about 2022. And every business which relies on data to drive their top line as well as operational efficiency are seeing improvements. I'm pretty sure most of us subscribe to this already, so I'm going to sort of run through this a little bit quickly, given how much time we have on it. But clearly, across both the top line as well as operational impact, data is playing a key role for us. So therefore, if anybody disagrees with me, please raise your hand, but data is your competitive advantage. Data is the business that is what's driving your differentiation in the market today. It's also powering 4 imperatives that I want to talk about a little bit. So let's look at it this way. In terms of what your business is looking at, in terms of your interactions with your customers, in terms of your engagement with your customers, quickly translates to the data which is sort of underlying all of that. And 4 areas that I want to talk to you about today. Talking about analytics, experiences, IoT, as well as artificial intelligence. Each of these, like the professor was also mentioning, it all starts with the business outcomes that we want to focus on. We don't want to implement technology for the sake of implementing technology. Every single thing that we are trying to do starts with the business outcomes, and we work backwards from there. What I've put up on the charts over here that you can quite easily relate to, there are different imperatives that your businesses might have. And you choose the technologies that you want to invest in basis those imperatives. However, the data which is underlying all of this is not static. And let's spend a little bit of time on this while we look at this. There is the sensing of data, and a lot of your IoT conversations start over there. There is the acting of the data that you would do, typically for the analytics or the insights that you do. So you're making sense of the data you're capturing, as well as the actions that you can take. The reason we said data is your competitive differentiation or the differentiator is because of this loop. And the beauty of this loop is that it works continuously all the time. And your technology should be able to support you across this entire loop. Your ability to sense the data, your ability to make sense of the data, and your ability to be able to work with that data is super important. And that's the innovation loop that I want to sort of spend some time on. Let's get right into IoT and how this loop sort of plays together. IoT is really not a thing. It's not something that you can go out there and say that, hey, listen, I'd like to buy IoT. It's really multiple things coming together, stitched across right from the thing. So think about any of the operational technology which can be at one end of the spectrum, which is any of the things that you might have. They are connected together. There's data which plays a role within it. There's compute and storage, and there's analytics. All of this coming together is what the professor was talking about, the value. It's really the values where you start the conversation from. Technology is the enabler to drive that value and that differentiation. And while this comes together is an example of how that loop that I was just talking about plays together. When you look at this particular loop, it can play out from the edge to the core to the cloud. There are things that you may want to do at the edge. There are things that you may want to do at the core, and some things at the cloud, depending on what the computational or what the The importance of that activity is choices may happen at any which place. And this thing continuously works together in a innovation loop that we just talked about. I'd like to play a video to give you and make this real. So let's play the first video, please.
Who would have thought you could grow a plant in a warehouse instead of a field? Without sun, without soil. We're doing it, and we're not only doing it at an experimental level, we're doing it on a commercial level. Today we focus on leafy greens. We believe we could grow anything. Our vision is to build farms in cities all over the world to allow everyone to have access to fresh, great tasting, healthy food all year round. The fact that we could grow plants using 95% less water, 0 pesticides, as much as 390 times the productivity per square foot as a field farmer shows what technology can do. We're able to understand the plants better than anyone ever in the history of farming, and it's by the data. And this is why the relationship with Dell Technologies is so valuable. We are collecting all of these data points of what we're giving the plant. What spectrum of light, what nutrients, how do we improve quality, taste, texture. We're using data analytics and becoming better farmers. At the end of the day, it's about how do we deliver a better product to the customer.
This is AeroFarm's baby kale. This is going to be packed the flavor of kale. The watercress had those peppery notes. The bok choy is super juicy. This is what I love about AeroFarms, is that it's like technology that's allowing people to farm better and smarter, and it makes really delicious food.
The world needs a new paradigm of how we're going to feed this planet. AeroFarms is illustrative of what technology can do to provide more with less.
All right, let's move forward. Very quickly, an example of where farming, they're collecting the data, they're using that data, improving their process with that data, right? And gives you a quick pulse check into what we were talking about. AI and machine learning. I want to give you an example here as well to make this real. The human-machine partnerships, it's not either humans, it's not machines, it's a combination of both of them coming together to work with that data. So I'm in the innovation loop. I'm in the part where we're talking about how we work with that data. And I'll give you an example of it. AI, clearly our ability to be able to work with it, whether through either increasing revenue streams, cross-selling, or to be able to drive better increased efficiency, happens across 3 areas. Your ability to be able to use AI as an engine, as your fuel, or as your brain. And across all of these places, there's technology that plays a role, whether it's compute, data, or a multi-cloud platform. If you were to get into immersive and collaborative computing, the last part of what you're doing in that innovation loop, you're moving away from the world where work was a destination, where you had to go to and work with either Excel sheets or whatever it is that you use to work with your data. Then you got into a world where that data was a little bit portable and it moved along with you with the various devices. We're now in an era where you're able to engage yourself with the data a lot more, and it becomes immersive. It's really hard for me to be able to explain this to you in words. Maybe a video will give you a nice example of how this translates to what Nike did. Can you please play the second video?
It starts with a question.
Load women size 8.
Followed by an idea on how to make things simpler, better, or more beautiful.
Approximate shape from sketches.
But it's not just what it looks like.
Load cross-terrain sequence.
It's how it works. which means trying. And failing. And trying again. To be a designer means not being bound by the limits of your tools, but instead,
Expand box.
being inspired by them.
Show me the upper.
So that you can focus on what only you can do. Being creative. Being curious. And being critical. Exploring the union between function and form. Until suddenly you know.
Optimize cushion pattern for terrain.
That's it.
And when you're ready to share your work, make sure everyone can see that the world is a little simpler, better, and more beautiful.
Thank you. So hopefully that gives you a sense of what you can do with the data as you collect it. So we talked about the innovation loop. We talked about what you can do with IoT in terms of sensing the data. The AeroFarms example was in farming, where they captured data about how they can grow their crops better and improve their process. We talked about AI, where across the brain and the compute, as well as the fuel, you've got technology to be able to enable you to do more smarter things with the data that you collect. And the third example was how you're able to engage with that data better. Think about how your designer would have worked with that data previously to what Nike, for example, was able to do. So as you look at the data innovation loop, there's a critical role that technology plays across all of this. And the reason we've harped so much on data is the fact that it is the differentiator for you tomorrow. I told you I'll just spend very little time talking about and making a pitch around Dell Technologies. Very proud and very happy about the fact that as you look at the entire spectrum, under one umbrella, you're able to engage with one vendor to have a conversation across the board, whether it is from the device to the application or to the cloud, and whether it is the hybrid cloud, on-prem or off-prem that you're looking to engage with or work with. And therefore, this story is super important, where you work with one vendor across the board. We look at it from two lenses. Digital transformation are things that you're doing typically to impact your top line. IT transformation are things that you're doing to be able to operationalize or drive more efficiency from the infrastructure that you have. Typically, you would engage with or invest in IT transformation to make those savings, which you can then invest into your digital transformation initiatives. As Dell Technologies, any which way that you look at any part of the puzzle across the innovation loop, we're able to partner with you. In the short term, we can look at it across IT transformation. We can look at it on the workforce transformation. Think about the example where you were engaging with the data. We can look at it from the application transformation, where you're looking at changes to the speed at which you're able to engage with your customers and your prospects. And finally, around security transformation, as all of this is meant to be kept safe and secure. I did not include an example in the innovation loop. Obviously, as the data traverses from the edge to the core to the cloud, it's important to keep it safe and secure. That's an example I did not include, purely because of the amount of time that we had, but suffice to say that it's important to be able to keep that safe and secure. As Dell Technologies, I wanted to wrap up and say that under one umbrella, 7 companies, 7 brands coming together. Dell, which is our endpoint portfolio company, set of products, whether it's the notebooks, laptops, or the workstations, the desktops. The Dell EMC, which is on the infrastructure side. Pivotal, RSA. Pivotal is around your digital transformation to be able to build those applications really, really quickly. RSA and SecureWorks to be able to keep your data safe and secure. VirtuStream and VMware. VirtuStream is your cloud offering, and VMware is from the orchestration layer and the virtualization layer. VMware has a lot more capabilities, including on the endpoint devices. Very happy to talk to you about that if you are keen and curious. So as you think about that innovation loop, your data flow from one area to the other, and that loop playing for you continuously day in and day out, it's important to be able to leverage technology to make yourself and your business successful in that. And as Dell Technologies, any area that you start innovating in or investing in, we're here to partner with you. With that, thank you very much. I'm done, and I have about 30 seconds left.